Hi everybody. This is Karlom-Johanom Hasselströmom, or KJ from Universum. Yes, since we had some unfortunate technical problems during my presentation last week, I've been requested to do a bit of a condensed version of the presentation that I held last week. Yeah, hopefully there will not be any technical difficulties during today's presentation. It's a pity, of course, because I had a lot of fun during the session and really enjoyed it. And as you can see, yeah, when I did the presentation last week, I was at our offices, and today I'm working from home and I'm sitting in my daughter Celine's room here doing today's presentation. Great. So I will start sharing my screen and I will go through, yeah, the same slides as I went through during the presentation. And yeah, I will, yeah, probably spend a bit less time in this recording than I did back then. But I'll, keep all the conclusions, etc., about the data. So I'm gonna share my screen. Perfect. And now, yeah, everything should be good. Hopefully you'll see me well, you hear me well, and you also see my slides here. Good. So welcome to this session. And of course, here it is again, the excitement cat. And now you got it recorded as well. And obviously, we are extremely excited about launching this year's data in Slovenia together with Podjetja Delo. We've now partnered for a couple of years. It's been a really strong partnership so far, and it's been great to get to know, I mean, both the Slovenian country better, but also our clients in the market, and yeah, certifying quite a few number of people in the Employer Branding Academy, and also discussing our data and so forth with a lot of companies in the market. So yeah, really proud about our partnership with Podjetja Delo. And obviously the survey that we're now doing for the second time in Slovenia, and today we will be focusing on actually start from more of a global perspective. We'll be looking at some global trends, actually first from the employer side, then we will look at it from a talent side, and then at the end, we've kept the best for last. We will be looking at some of the trends from the Slovenian survey that we have. And we will get into the details a bit more later, but we have 13,000 respondents, which we obviously are very proud of in the research. So let's start with the global employer branding trends. And like I said earlier, we will actually start then from an employer perspective. We will start by looking at some of the effects of the pandemic on the employer branding priorities. So first, obviously, no news. These are a couple of data points from last year. We were actually quite busy last year surveying HR staff all around the world, kind of getting their insights and getting the pulse, so to say, on recruitment and employer branding efforts. And yeah, as you can see, in October, November, we asked this question, how their recruitment objectives have compared to the time before the COVID-19 pandemic. And you could see that in October, November, we were down to 20% saying higher, and how that has gone down while lower has gone up. We've obviously seen an uptick now in Q1, and I mean, that was also something that McKinsey predicted, and here you have some McKinsey data to the left here, where October, November was some kind of like turning point when we started seeing it go up again, an increase in your organization's workforce size over the next 6 months. We also have some data from Manpower, kind of supporting the same hypothesis, so to say. The interesting thing, in all of this is that employer branding has actually maintained to be a top priority for organizations throughout the pandemic. And you can see in the research that we did back in February, it was 71% who said one of our top priorities. And in October, November, 68% actually went up from 62 to 68. So we can also see that, how did the importance of employer branding change as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic? We actually have, 42% answering that it became more important, and only 10% answered that it became less important. This obviously shows that this is, a long-term gain. Companies are quite sophisticated. They understand that employer branding is not a light switch that you can turn on and turn off, and that is not directly connected to the recruitment efforts, the recruitment efforts right now, but that it is a long-term initiative. And of course that you need to adapt the tone of what you're saying to the kind of recruitment circumstances, but still that it is something that a lot of companies have seen as a top priority also throughout the pandemic. We've also looked at, have you followed through on internship and graduate programs? Almost 3 out of 4 have, maintained or increased both internship programs and graduate programs. We also looked at the student group, which obviously is a group that we at Universum are quite interested in, and very interesting to see here as well that, we have tried to make ourselves more approachable to students. Actually, over half have said that they agree or strongly agree. And also, you can also see that over half has also said that we made great efforts to understand students' needs and preferences during the pandemic. So once again, what we can see here is that companies are thinking long-term, obviously students, the workforce of tomorrow and so forth, and this has maintained to be a strong focus for these organizations. So when we look at the bit of the new priorities, then obviously the virtual recruitment events and so forth, and we are, we've asked, are you likely to continue with virtual student meetings even after the pandemic is over? We have very high numbers saying that they agree strongly or agree, and obviously, there's a lot of discussions around, the new normal, the post-pandemic world, etc. I think we can all agree that it will not be the same as we have today. But my personal take on this is that, obviously we will see a continued focus on these virtual engagements. But I also believe that people in general are craving to actually meet in person. So I also, I'm probably not a part of the camp who says that, in person is dead, it's all going to be virtual in the future, etc. Because I do think that, the face-to-face interaction is still going to be something that is going to still be a pivotal part when it comes to recruitment efforts in the future. And then also when we look at then remote working, obviously something that we've all have had to adapt to, right, during the last year plus, right, and here we can see that 62% are saying that unlimited possibilities for remote working after the pandemic, 24% remote work possibilities only within the company's geographical location. So obviously this is something that at least companies in the end of last year was valuing quite high still. And it's interesting to see now some of the development. I mean, we have, some companies being, very pro remote working, and saying that, yes, we will keep this, after the pandemic. Nobody needs to come back to the office. Whereas other companies are very clear that, no, we are going back to the office like 100% after the pandemic. So we'll see kind of, how things actually will work out, and give us 2 to 3 years time to really evaluate and see how things are going to play out. But obviously, I think, we will definitely not go back to exactly where we were. But we'll see where we will end up. So very, very interesting area to follow. And 72% then has said that they will keep this stance after the pandemic has passed. And then another interesting thing is that when we looked at how employers recruit, we can see as a consequence of the increased virtual recruitment, we can see that companies have kind of letting go a bit on the old approach, which has been very focused on target schools and only recruiting people from certain industries and with certain grades and so forth, but actually opening it up a bit and making the sample broader, and obviously focusing a bit more on personal traits and cultural fit and so forth. So this is quite an interesting development, and of course something that we've seen for the past couple of years already. But the whole virtual recruitment element has definitely fueled this development. Then what type of profile and what type of traits are then companies looking for? Here you can see world's most attractive employers, and who are those then? The WMAEs. It's basically the top employers in the world, where we look on our global rankings at Universum. But when we look at these companies, and these are obviously, I mean, the big ones, it's the Googles, it's the Microsoft, it's Deloitte, McKinsey's, etc. of the world. And here we can see that the top traits are learning agility, openness to diversity, and collaboration. Okay. And if we look at the total sample, which then is not only the world's most attractive employers, here we actually have openness to diversity being the top one, followed by leadership potential, and then collaboration. So we could see leadership potential a lot higher in the total sample, and openness to diversity being the top one. Whereas learning agility, which was number 1 among the world's most attractive employers, is actually number 5 among the total sample. So some differences there, but here you can kind of see kind of the top traits that these companies are looking for. And then, a slide that makes me very happy is this one, where we basically then can see, how often employers would describe that their employer branding marketing decisions are being data driven. Okay. This is obviously something that we at Universum, who live and breathe our data, are very happy to see that we see a continuous development of companies becoming more sophisticated and using data a lot more. And I've talked about this many times before, how one size does not fit all. You need to, really have a targeted approach and strategy towards different target groups, and this obviously needs to be based on data. So very, very good to see this. And then I mean, when we're looking at what the top kind of employer branding objective is, it's all about differentiation. 67% says that. And then when we look at how the world's most attractive employers are positioning themselves, here is basically then what it looks like. So we have 44% inspiring purpose, 42% innovation, 42% learning, 36% diversity and inclusion, 35% personal impact, and then we also have clear path for advancement that actually have gone down quite a lot from 2016. Just pointing that out as well. But Am I saying that you should position yourself like this? No, I'm just stating kind of how these, the world's most attractive employers are positioning themselves, and it's important to note that regarding some of these areas, obviously the purpose, the innovation, the learning. It is quite a crowded space, and it is important then, if you take a positioning like this, that you really do it well, because a lot of companies are talking about it and not just saying it. So I have this saying, that don't tell people that you're funny, make them laugh. And that I think is definitely one of my favorite sayings. And it's a really important one, because that's when the whole messaging comes in, with having an authentic communication, and of course also focusing on those main traits that really are attractive to that particular target group. So then, if we continue with some of the global talent preferences, and here is what I refer to as the heart of our research at Universum. So this is our framework, the drivers of employer attractiveness. So here you can basically see we have 4 different drivers. We have employer reputation and image, people and culture, remuneration and involvement opportunities, and also job characteristics. Each of these drivers then consists of 10 different attributes, and this is, in my opinion, an amazing tool for companies to use. And basically, in the data that we have, we're able then to tell you what specific target group, what they want from a career based on this framework, also how they view you as an employer and how they view your competitors. And by having those 3 different dimensions, we can then actually really hone in and see where your unique positioning lies. So really amazing to work with this framework. And now we will be looking at, on a global level, what the talent find most attractive. And let's start with the business audience. And here you can see the top 10 attributes in this audience. We can see that 1 in the employer reputation image, we have market success. We can see 3 in remuneration and advancement opportunities. We can see 4 in people and culture. We have creative and dynamic work environment, with a friendly work environment, encouraging work-life balance and respect for its people, and then 2 in job characteristics. So quite interesting to see. So it's quite clear that for the business audience, we have people and culture and remuneration and advancement opportunities being the top 2 drivers here. And I've said it many times throughout this summary of my previous session, the importance of understanding how your different target groups think, and tailoring your communication towards those groups. So now we will be looking at the engineering audience, and here you can see some similarities, but also some differences. So you can see job characteristics now has 3, so you'll have added challenging work. Employee reputation and image, much more important to this group. So we have innovation, we have embracing new technologies being the top 1. Good future career reference, and respect for its people, not as important to this group. So it's very clearly that, of course, there's some overlaps between these 2 groups, so that's all good, but also some differences as well. And once again, I mean, this is on an aggregated level. It's global data based on the 12 largest economies in the world. So of course this differs when we look at it on a country by country level as well, and also when we look at it with different other target groups, like humanities or natural sciences and so forth. And then when we're looking at the attributes that are rising the most in importance, we have these. So we have friendly work environment, secure employment, high future earnings, and competitive base salary. So those are the 4 attributes that have increased the most when we look at this at the data. Then looking at industries as well and how those are developing, we can see that for the business audience, we have information technology and automotive going up the most. We also have them going up, but not as much in the engineering and IT audience. and also manufacturing and engineering. While we're seeing that, professional services goes down among the business audience, the banks, strategy consulting, and we can also see banking and strategy consulting going down in the engineering audience together with consumer goods. So there's also some movement in terms of the industries as well. Then talking about different target groups having different triggers, I also just wanted to show you this before we get into the Slovenian findings, and this one is quite interesting. So we have the Gen Z audience, right? So to the left we have a subsegment that we call the security seekers, okay, and to the right we have the entrepreneurs. So two different segments within the Gen Z audience. And look here, if we look at security seekers, if you look at the 5 most important attributes, 4 out of those 5 are secure employment, encouraging work-life balance, friendly work environment, and competitive base salary. When we look at the entrepreneurs, we can actually see that those 4 are among the least important ones to that audience. Once again, within a group, Gen Z, you can see when we break that up and we look at different audiences within that audience, huge differences. So think about that when you look at the data. And now, the moment that all of you have been waiting for, we will be looking at the Slovenian trends. And of course, we have tons of data points that we are covering here. And of course, Slovenia is one of many markets, close to 50 markets on a global level that we're doing our research in. And what do we then cover in the research? Well, we cover quite a lot, I would say. I would even go as far as saying, everything that you need to know when it comes to employer branding. So we have, the recruitment funnel, when we basically assess from an awareness level down to an application level how you perform. We have the talent's perception of you as an employer together with their preferences. We have a view on your competitors and also why you're losing to the competitors, what makes them attractive. We also have a look at, the communication channels, where they're learning about employers and so forth, and tons of industry benchmarks as well. So quite a comprehensive report that we have. And of course, I said it already, but we have almost 13,000 professionals that have taken the survey. It's been carried out between December last year to March 2021. And the cool thing is that, we will now be able to see the impact of the pandemic. We're not in post-pandemic yet, but at least we're in, 1 year in to the pandemic, and to be able to compare the previous data that we have for Slovenia with this data is extremely powerful. And you can also see the breakdown below. So we have almost a bit more than half are non-academics, and then the other are academics. You can also see the breakdown here. The biggest groups being business, social sciences, and natural sciences, followed then by engineering, IT, and then law, that we can break down the data on. But keep in mind, we can also break down on people from certain industries. We can look at, women within business. So there's no end to the breakdowns that we can do. And now we will be looking at the data on an extremely aggregated level. But now I will share a couple of sneak peeks into the data. So first here, we see the top preferences, both among the academic professionals and the non-academic professionals. And here is quite interesting. We did look at some global findings earlier to make some comparisons. We have the respect for its people. If we start to the left here with academic professionals being the number 1, followed by professional training, development, a friendly work environment, secure employment, and competitive base salary. When we look at the non-academics, we have respect for its people, a friendly work environment, secure employment, and competitive base salary, and high future earnings. So quite interesting to see here and compare. And we do see, some differences, but I think that the interesting thing here is that actually it's quite similar on when we look at the top 5. We do have, you know, maybe a bit more on the non-academics, on the remuneration and the salary piece. We also have the professional training and development among the academics, which we don't have as clearly among the non-academics. It's number 9 there. So definitely some differences. So if you want to position yourself towards these audiences, obviously, you know, respect for its people and a friendly work environment works well for both. Then if you want to be a bit more appealing to academics, it's professional training and development, and a bit more appealing to the non-academics, it's the salary and the potential future earnings that you should focus on. Then we will break this down per gender. So if we start to the left here with academic professionals, we have females and males. We have, you know, respect for its people being number 1. It's also number 1 for both the females and the males among the non-academic professionals. And then quite clearly we can see among the females, we have, you know, the secure employment, a friendly work environment, and also the professional training and development being key in the academics. Among the males, we have the salary and high future earnings popping up there in the top 5, which we don't have among the females. And then if we focus on the non-academics, we have the competitive base salary and high future earnings actually being in the top 5 for the females, which we didn't have among the academics. So that I think is quite an interesting one. And then for the males, we also have the bonus popping up there on number 5. Secure employment is there across the board, not so much on the males for the academics, but that is something that, you know, is have we seen gone up quite a lot, you know, over the last couple of years here at Universum on a global level. So we've then also looked at, you know, how trust impacts employees' decision to stay or leave their job, and a couple of key highlights here. And you can see 2 bars here. The blue one being people that are no interest in changing job within the 4 years time, and the white one being interest changing job within the 4 years time. And here we can see that the one that has the lowest score here is I trust in the leaders of my organization. So that's quite interesting, and it shows, you know, of course, the importance of the leaders. Quite closely there as well, we have the organizational vision as well, another key. And then of course the trust me to do my job. So and then the one with the highest score is I feel I have the appropriate skills to do my job to my best ability. So kind of key takeaways from here, leaders, and I think when we talk about leaders, we haven't specified, but I mean, of course, it comes all the way from the top down to the middle managers, obviously, as well. And then mobility and retention. Let's look at this. So how likely are you to recommend your current employers among the academics? You can see 1/4 almost have extremely likely, etc. And then when we look at the non-academics, it looks like this. So extremely likely, yeah, pretty similar. But then if we click like this, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you can see that the non-academics have a bit lower scores, right? Lower down as well. So we can see that the non-academics are a bit less likely than to recommend their current employers than the academics. And then are they interested in changing their employers? And here we can almost see like 2 camps, one can see. One, which is very likely to do that. We have almost 1/4 saying yes within 6 months. But then we still we have 1/3 saying no, not within 4 years. And then we have, yeah, close to 20% saying, I don't know, I prefer not to say. So quite interesting. So, you know, we are already seeing quite some movement. I'm in contact with quite a few job boards around the world. I mean, recruitment and you know, we're definitely seeing the we can continue to see quite some movement, you know, when we're, yeah, hopefully now getting through the pandemic here in you know, within the next, I don't know, 3 to 8 months or something like that. but still that, there's 1/3 about roughly that's saying that they're not interested to do it within the next 4 years. And then when we're looking at the non-academics, no super big differences, I would say. Then when we get to the last part, which is the communication piece, here we will just look at a couple of slides. And the first one is, the most used communication channels, both for the academics and the non-academics. We have social media being the top one, then followed by online job boards, news media, and then there's a small difference then between the academics and non-academics. Academics have employer career websites followed by career guidance websites, whereas the non-academics have career guidance websites followed by employer career website, but very, very similar. Of course, important to point out, social media, that's a pretty broad term. Obviously, different types of social media platforms serves different purposes, right? So you have a Facebook or an Instagram, which focuses a bit more on top of the funnel, awareness, consideration, whereas a LinkedIn focuses a bit lower down in the funnel, and on more of the application and driving, that last part, basically submitting your CV. So dependent on the challenge that you have within a specific group and your long-term strategy, my recommendation is not to put all your eggs in one basket, in one social media channel. Say like, yep, I spent everything on Facebook, I spent everything on LinkedIn, but to really, have a bit more of a thought-through strategy than that. And then most used platforms to retrieve employer information. Mojdelo came up number 1, both among the academics and the non-academics. And then we have the employer career website. And then number 3 among the academics is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is number 5 among the non-academics. And we have Facebook being number 3 among the non-academics, and then Facebook being number 5 among the academics. And then we have employers' corporate website being number 4 in both audiences. So, obviously, Mojdelo, an important channel. And then we're seeing that LinkedIn a bit more towards academics, Facebook a bit more towards the non-academics. So that was my kind of, I guess, I'm looking at my phone here, 32-minute or something like that version of my 45-minute presentation that I did last week. And I really hope that you could hear this presentation in a good way. And as always, if you have any questions, just reach out to me, just connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can continue the conversation. Obviously, talk to my fantastic colleagues at Mojdelo, Anna and the team. They're amazing. I look forward to coming down to Slovenia soon, meeting all of you, and discussing this data a lot more with you all. So thanks a lot for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the session, and talk to you soon, and hopefully see you soon as well. Thank you so much, and see you soon.